Now to Iran and its growing nuclear threat. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warning the hour is getting late, very late, to stop Iran. Today at the United Nations, Prime Minister Netanyahu saying Iran could build a nuclear bomb by next summer and urging and maybe even begging the world to draw a clear red line to prevent it.
Where should a red line be drawn? A red line should be drawn right here. Before Iran completes the second stage of nuclear enrichment necessary to make a bomb, before Iran gets to a point where it's a few months away or a few weeks away from amassing enough enriched uranium to make a nuclear weapon.
Former UN Ambassador John Bolton joins us. Good evening, sir, and your reaction to the Prime Minister's speech today.
Well, I thought he made a couple of important points. The first is this effort to draw a red line, which I think is a mistake in strategic terms, but in political terms is important for the leader of a democratic country. He has to be able to justify to his fellow citizens if he's about to make the very hard and risky decision to use military force against Iran's nuclear weapons program. And I think he needs to show that he tried to get the United States to agree on a red line. He tried to meet with the president. He failed, so now he's going to do it publicly. I think he's doing his duty as Prime Minister of Israel to show that he's gone the extra mile. Second, he made a very, very effective argument against the continued reliance on economic sanctions to stop Iran's nuclear weapons program. Continued reliance on sanctions, objectively speaking, benefits Iran, because it provides the illusion that we're doing something about the nuclear program when in fact it simply gives Iran more time. And I think Netanyahu laid that case out very effectively. So he's put the world on notice that they're getting ready. He actually gave the Obama administration a concession. He did push the timeline back a little bit. His key phrase was spring or summer. You know, technically spring begins at the vernal equinox on March the 20th. So I think that's the key date, after our election and after the inauguration on the 20th.
All right, let me tell you my sort of suspicious thought, for which I must underline as suspicious, is that I thought that he was more aggressive last year when he spoke to the General Assembly. And this year it almost seemed like by giving this 6 or 8 month period by which the spring until to do this red line will be reached, is that he was telling Iran, you can take a deep breath, we're not going to do anything for 6 months, you can basically stand down from your alarm about what we, Israel, are going to do to you. Meanwhile, getting all revved up and getting ready to do something, because it is, I think it's pretty plain to this Prime Minister that Ahmadinejad is not going to back down.
Yeah, well, of course, it's not just Ahmadinejad, it's the entire Iranian regime. But I do think he was saying to Obama, calm down, I'm not going to do anything before November the 6th. And indeed, as I say, he was indicating to Governor Romney he's not going to do anything before the 20th of January. In fact, though, one of the problems with the red line that Prime Minister Netanyahu himself said in his speech is that our intelligence on where Iran is imperfect. And when you draw a line that you cannot absolutely verify, you can't be certain when they've reached weapons-grade levels of uranium enrichment. In a way, you're holding yourself hostage to your own inadequate intelligence. I personally believe Iran blew past red lines long ago, and that they're not going to take anybody's red line threat seriously because they don't believe, in particular, the United States is going to use military force.
Well, it seemed like that he had a much cozier relationship with the United States today in his speech. It's been rather frosty in prior months, or at least that's sort of been the exchange of what we suspected, and listening to the exchange between the two nations. I'm curious, and I think you probably have a softer view on this than I do, having or at least heard some of your remarks, is that today our UN Ambassador, Susan Rice, she did not attend the speech by the Prime Minister because the speeches went long today. Instead, she elected to go to a luncheon with foreign ministers, and so she was not present. Now, we had our envoy there, and we had our U.S. ambassador to Israel there, but for some reason it appeared to me that it would have been, in light of the problems that we've had showing our closeness with this country, that she should have been there.
Well, from the Obama administration point of view, I would have thought she would have attended both the Netanyahu speech and Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority. Instead, she went to have lunch with Hillary Clinton and the foreign ministers of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council. You know, ultimately, that's Hillary Clinton's call. As I say, I would have recommended being in the hall to have a higher-ranking official there.
Why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't they want to do that? I mean, am I just way too sensitive about this? I mean, with all the sort of problems that President Obama has seemingly had with the Prime Minister, why wouldn't we want to show huge respect, especially after yesterday with Ahmadinejad speaking on Yom Kippur and sort of all the sort of slights that the Israelis have had in the last few days?
Well, you know, that's a question that goes to a course of conduct by the Obama administration for 3.5 years of just utter disdain for both Prime Minister Netanyahu and the State of Israel. And it's simply one more brick in the wall of the case that the president's perfectly prepared to isolate Israel and that he does not hold the U.S.-Israel relationship in the same high regard as every other president going back to Harry Truman. So I think it's consistent with the administration's effort to distance itself from Israel, which has been manifest so many other ways as well.
All right, well, it's a small point, may just be a little bit of bad manners, and certainly pale in consideration of the more important issues of nuclear weapons. Ambassador